for MAGA Best, whether or not Steven shows up tonight is the difference between $100 and $0. Okay, every single time Steven shows up, it's ka-ching, 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 ka-ching. For MAGA Best, it's payday. Okay.
Go first time.
Some ICE officer kicked a puppy. That's like the least offensive thing they have ever done. Okay?
With doing anything with lactoid, so that's what I'm excited about. And unfortunately, I don't know much about Mr. Relevant, so we'll.
Just a lot, man.
Yeah, it's a crazy amount of stuff that happens all the time. It's a bit overwhelming.
It's 50-50.
Second.
Yeah. Great, wonderful content. We're all sitting here. Dixon. Okay.
How's everybody doing?
Audio connections. We got visual connections. I think it's
This, I have not watched it yet, but I can tell this is gonna be a show. Okay, this is gonna be a massive show. Wait, whoa, what's this? The difference in Asmongold's reaction when covering Elon Musk versus Bill Gates in the Epstein files. Oh. Wait, quickly, we need to on Epstein Gold
about the Epstein files. So Elon Musk is in the Epstein files. This is undeniable. It's not even a question, right? He was in it, but it doesn't seem like he did anything wrong. And let's see here. And so Elon Musk gets put in there. He repeatedly tried to get me to visit his island.
He's so shameless.
Declined, and then Epstein tried to get me to go to the island. No one pushed harder than me to have the Epstein files released, and I'm glad that it finally happened. I had very little correspondence with Epstein and declined repeatedly invitations to go to his island or fly on his Lolita Express. But I was well aware of some email correspondence with him could be misinterpreted and used by detractors to smear my name. I don't care about that, but what I do care about is that we at least attempt to prosecute those who committed serious crimes with Epstein, especially regarding heinous exploitation of underage girls. This is absolutely insanely fucking based. I am so happy to see this. He wanted to go, but he couldn't. Well, he didn't go, right? At the end of the day, that's not what happened. And so I'm glad about that.
But he wanted to go, though. You're saying that Elon Musk didn't know about the fucking 14-year-old Diddy parties that were happening on Epstein's island? And he didn't think like, man, I want to clap some 12-year-old booty cheeks. Like, you really think he didn't say that? Chances are he was thinking it in his head. He was like, damn, I want to some 10-year-olds.
Yeah, I'll watch the CoffeeZilla video about it. I have it lined up already. Let's see. My thing is, it's working, right? Yeah, it's right. It's my first one. So we are going to look at that today. Don't worry about it. But we'll get to it. Anyway, so I do think this is very respectable.
In the email, he wanted the wildest party. Wait, yeah, that's right. He wanted the wildest party. He wanted the wildest party. Dude,
and yeah, I mean, obviously him wanting to go to the island or something like that, I think that obviously it looks bad, but you know, if he's not implicated in anything, I mean, there are a lot of people that went to the island probably didn't do anything wrong, like realistically. And so I wouldn't necessarily say it was it was like guaranteed, you know, like he was a bad actor or something like that. And so yeah, Microsoft crashed 440 billion because of Bill Gates. I don't think that was because of Bill Gates, guys. I really don't think so. I think that happened like 3 or 4 days ago. And anyway, let's see another one here. What matters is not the release of some subset of the Epstein files, but rather the prosecution of those who committed the heinous crimes with Epstein. When there is at least one arrest, some justice will have done. If not, this is all performative, nothing but a distraction. Totally fucking true. Absolutely. So that's what I'm really kind of waiting to see happen, right? Is that they've got to go and arrest some of these people rather than just talking about it. That's all they do is talk about it. The whole market was down yesterday. It's not related.
I want to know what your relationship with him was.
Yeah, I met Jeffrey in 2011. So over a period of 3 years, I had a number of dinners with him.
Yeah.
The focus was always...
So what about like the Russian hookers?
He knew a lot of very rich people, and he was saying he could get them to give money to global health. You know, in retrospect, that was a dead end, and I've said many times, but I'll say again, I was foolish to spend time with him. I was one of many people who regret ever knowing him.
Right.
You've no doubt seen the allegations, including some of them from the last 24 to 48 hours. Are they true?
No, apparently Jeffrey wrote an email to himself. That email was never sent. The email is, false. So I don't know what his thinking was there. You know, was he trying to attack me in some way? But
so let me get this straight. Jeffrey Epstein wrote an email to himself because he knew that after he was killed, that the main thing that he wanted the public to know is that you were sleeping with Russian hookers and you wanted to give your wife a antibiotic so she wouldn't know that you transmitted an STD that you got from Russian hookers to her?
What? You never went into this much detail when you were talking about Elon Musk's involvement in the Epstein files. Otherwise, you would be talking about how Elon Musk was wanted the wildest party. Otherwise, you would be asking how Elon Musk wanted the wildest party, and he got rejected, and he still wanted to go. Like, what the fuck, bro? He was in the files. He's in the files, and not only that, he was like he wanted the wildest parties. What does that mean? You know, France raided X's offices in Paris. No, I did not know that. Because the Groxy generation.
And he knew this almost 10 years before he died. And he did this to frame you specifically, to embarrass you for... Just listen, man. I've seen a lot of girls in Russia. They're fucking hot. Like, I get it, man. I do. Like, I think everybody... Like, you guys get it. Like, it makes sense. So, like, really, just come out and say it, bro. Like, it's fine.
Dude, he's so shameless. When it comes to Elon Musk, it's like, oh, well, if he goes to the island, that doesn't mean that he's committing a crime. With Bill Gates, it's like, just say it. Just say that you're into the Russian hookers. Like, what?
But, it just reminds me,
yeah.
Every minute I spent with him, I regret and I, apologize that I
You see the Epstein emails about trans people?
did that.
The problem is some of the things that he has sent and some of the information about other people that has come up in those files has been true. Why would he...
The problem is that the other stuff was true. Why is the stuff about you not true? What a great question. What an amazing question.
do this and say this about you, do you think?
Yeah. Why would he do this?
It's factually true that I was only at dinners. I never went to the island. I never met any women.
He never went to the island. He never met any women. Well, if you didn't meet any women, why is there a photo of you next to a woman?
Like, wait, is taking pictures next to a woman weird now? Because these hold up man children has never been with another woman before outside of their mothers, or like, I'm so confused.
With her face blacked out.
Can't tell if this is serious or not, actually.
Because that's confusing to me. I mean, maybe he was never introduced to her. It was just a random person, right? I mean, that seems very odd. I don't know what this is.
And so, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
Oh. Is it frustrating to you, given what you've said, that this is now happening?
Not really. I mean, people should, hold people who are successful to a very high bar. And so, it's as these documents come out, they're going to be closely scrutinized.
To be honest, that's a very good answer. But, man, another Microsoft...
If he was about to say, like, oh, yeah, that's a really good answer, but blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It's just stupid. Fuck Bill Gates. But this is so weird coming from Aspen Turd. I literally don't care. Bill Gates probably caused more good in his lifetime than the bad. Let's just say he fucked like 2 14-year-olds, okay? That's bad. But let's just say he saved the lives of 30,000 black men, okay? You know what? I think Bill Gates is a net good in this world, if that's the case, okay? I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it, okay? 30,000 black men over 2 14-year-old white girls, okay? I'm good, okay? I'm good.
I want to tell you. Time to actually get this shit show started. Thank you all for being here.
Listen, people don't like what I'm saying because it's true and the truth hurts, okay?
Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of Whick TV. It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both cultural and political, from the silly to the serious. Today we're going to be talking about Don Lemon. For those of you who don't know, Don Lemon went with a group of
So people care about white girls more, okay? If there were black girls, no one cares.
protesters to a church in Minnesota. The protesters disrupted the service and have been charged with violating the FACE Act. Don Lemon recorded them and documented it. The government has decided, however...
Bill Gates might be the most moral billionaire out there. Can you think of a better one? Mansa Musa. Oh yeah, I think he's dead.
To charge Don Lemon also with violations of the FACE Act. And
Mansa Musa.
Again, the question becomes, was he exercising his First Amendment right?
Look, he was so good. I think he's allowed like 1 or 2,
Recording the protest, or was he an active part of the protest, as the government alleges, and so doing violated the FACE Act? We got some great people to discuss it today, and we're going to get into it. Let's get the mic first to Mr. Gen Z, and we'll just kind of go around. Go ahead, Gen Z.
Thank you, Wick, as always, for having me, and good to see everybody. Peace go for the second time. Irrelevant Lactoid for the first time. Look forward to getting a great discussion tonight. I'm a Gen Z attorney. I'm a solo practitioner in North Carolina. I do a little bit of everything litigation-wise, civil, criminal, family. Yeah, I haven't been putting much content up as of late because I've been busy getting this law firm up and running, which has been a lot of fun. But still do debates here and there, and looking forward to talk tonight. I am of the opinion that the charges were appropriate. I think we've got the 3 charges here, and of course we'll get into all the details with it. But yeah, no, I think there was an agreement to go into the church. I think plenty of overt acts were taken to go in. I think I'll probably argue a lot about his intent, and of course whether or not, even if everything he did was criminal, is it protected underneath a First Amendment right to the freedom of the press and whatnot. So yeah, it's really unfortunate. There's a lot.
I remember this lawyer hack. You have no idea how little you just narrowed it down. You have no idea how little that narrows it down.
More to get into. I could go on for a lot longer, but I'll probably just keep it simple there
This
and say
lawyer
I
hack.
agree with the charges. And yeah, I think
Which one?
I think it's the defenses are a little. I don't know, I'll call them interesting. I'll leave it at that and make of that what you will. But thank you for having me, and look forward to getting into it.
Thanks for being here. Lactoid.
Yeah, give me 1 second. So I just want to start off with just a little bit of a hedge here. So this is an unresolved case. So nothing that anybody says here is going to be definitive. Speaking for myself.
Irrelevant setup is so bad. He should be wearing his Irrelevant should be wearing his the shirts where he shows off the most chest. Okay? He always wears these like sexualized men outfits for his stream. The ones where like his fucking chest muscles are like rippling outwards or some shit. But I don't know why he decided to cosplay as a green screen.
My opinions may change as this case evolves. And everything I say here is specifically regarding my belief as to the strength of the allegations and whether the evidence.
Gen Z lawyer? Oh, you mean the guy who looks like he lives in an Airbnb where he is busy trying to think of ways to escape the psycho upstairs.
Thus far justifies the allegations and the arrest, not whether Don Lemon or any of the protesters are actually guilty of any of the charged offenses. My opinions are as follows. The case against the other protesters.
He's just a fan of the green.
Besides Don Lemon, I think are particularly strong. The case against Lemon for misdemeanor charges under the FACE Act is moderate. I think any kind of trespass would be much stronger. But I do believe that there is a moderate.
Bro, I remember when this lactoid fuck went into my server voice chat in order to get some dirt from my community members after the Charlie Kirk shooting. This motherfucker went in there to try to see if the liberals were actually Fed posting or not. What a fucking disgusting rat fuck, dude.
Argument under the FACE Act. The case against Lemon for conspiracy charges under the KKK Act, I think, is weaker.
Now you know.
I do think that's weaker on the weak side. I think a jury could find it, though. Even though we do have, we could get protesters under these specific laws, Don Lemon and the rest. Any kind of penalty that is for years and years, I think is excessive. The KKK Act, I think, allows up to 10 years. I think anything close to that would be wildly excessive. I would want the punishment here to be much, much lower than that. So I'm very moderate on what the actual punishment should be. And then I have some, and then I also have some problems with really the KKK Act and the FACE Act as they stand. I have some problems with those acts as well. But I do think that Don Lemon, for his actions, did deserve to get. The evidence appears to show that he deserved to get arrested at the very least for the trespassing he did. But I think that the argument of the FACE Act is also there's something there. There's some meat on the bone.
Okay, we'll get to it. And thanks for being here. Pisco, go ahead.
Yeah.
Why is it trespassing? Can't literally anybody enter a church?
So I think a bunch of the caveats that Lactoid may make sense, though not all of them. That I think we're assessing whether or not there's a legal basis for these charges, and not necessarily the ultimate disposition of the case, because of course there could be some evidence that we're unaware of that they didn't include in the indictment. And so with that caveat underway, I think that almost certainly Don Lemon committed a trespass. I think that's kind of trivial once he was asked to leave. And, you stick around for a little bit. Yeah, and trespass by itself is not like First Amendment speech. There's not a journalist immunity to trespass.
I mean, did he leave? If he left, how could it be? How could you how is he doing anything wrong? Okay, so let's just say you enter a public space. Okay, you enter a space in which other people are welcomed in. Okay, you enter. And you think that you're being welcomed, right? So you're not aware of you're not being there, right? Someone tells you to leave. If you leave, then what's wrong? Also, did Don Lemon force himself to stay? Does anybody know? Like Don Lemon was told to leave and he just won't leave? Or did he leave? Hello? If someone tells you to leave, you don't automatically become guilty of trespassing, no? If someone tells you to leave and you leave, how could you be guilty? He did all these things, like having a melanin level.
Laws or to criminal laws in general. And the FACE Act by itself has been sustained facially against First Amendment challenges, primarily because it targets the use of force, threats, or physical obstruction for a given set of purposes. And so I don't necessarily think that the Lemon case by itself and the elements of the case necessarily raise a First Amendment issue. What I think the First Amendment issue is relates to the actual evidence in this case and whether or not we think the FACE Act violation happened, which I think so far don't think probable cause has been established at all. I don't think that there's any good evidence that he had some sort of conspiracy with these individuals, that he was trying to bring about the outcome of the physical obstruction, threats, / force that was used. I'm assuming they're going to argue that it was physical obstruction, and that if it were the case.
Yeah, key aspects of trespassing. Going onto land or property without the owner's consent, Jesus, or staying after being asked to leave. If you stay after you're being asked to leave, you're trespassing. I don't know. I'm looking here. Yeah.
That Don Lemon's actions, as far as we know them from his stream and from.
Yeah, California Penal Code says, well, this is for California though. You fail or refuse to leave private property after being asked to leave. Yeah, so it means like you're refusing to leave the property, even though it's being communicated to you. What defines trespassing Minnesota? In Minnesota, trespassing is a criminal offense. Okay, what is this? Types of trespass. Often it involves entering a building or restricted area without permission or refusing to leave. Wait, yeah, it's the same fucking thing. Yeah, so he didn't do anything wrong. Like, what the fuck?
The indictment were sufficient to make out a conspiracy.
Why is Pisco immediately conceding? I don't fucking know. Like, Pisco doing Pisco shit, man. I hope Irrelevant stands on business more.
Against rights under the FACE Act as a substantive offense. I think that the First Amendment concern is that would chill a great deal of investigatory journalism that a lot of conservatives and certainly a lot of liberals and lefties think is socially useful. And so I do think that the case is relatively strong against the protesters as such. I think there's definitely probable.
We should refuse to debate these leaders unless they unequivocally say Ashley Babbitt had it coming. True.
For them. But I don't think the case is particularly strong against Don Lemon, either on the conspiracy front or on the substantive FACE Act violations. And you don't just have to take my view on it. Multiple magistrate judges refused to grant the criminal complaint in this case, and they went to an alternative method to panel grand jury through that process, where it's ex parte and there's no other judge. And so I don't think that I would be stepping out of bounds to say that me and other judges, and even someone I quoted yesterday in a different debate, Robert Barnes, who is a lawyer, like a pure MAGA type lawyer.
Robert Barnes sounds like a fake name.
Who wants Trump to do well, who wants Trump to weed out corruption. I think his estimation after reading the indictment was like less than 10% chance of conviction, and he doesn't think that it's a particularly good case. So I'm not just doing this and saying this because I'm liberal and biased. I think that it's a thin case against Don Lemon, and for that reason, it's bad for the First Amendment.
Okay, thank you for being here. We'll get into it, I'm sure. And last but certainly not least, Irrelevant, please.
Howdy. So I'm Irrelevant. I'm not in any way, shape, or form like practicing lawyer. I've never even been to law school, not really studied any of that stuff at all. My primary and chief concern here in this conversation is to talk about the kind of logical extent of the arguments made as to the consequences in the material world for whatever precedent we're setting. That's kind of the
what does that even mean?
The position that I'm going to be taking. So if you're somebody watching who's like, hey, listen, I don't know a lot of this law.
Yeah, I get it. You're very fancy schmancy.
Mumbo jumbo and stuff like this. I'm with you, and I'm going to be trying to make the best case for where I feel like the mumbo jumbo might be going and how it might affect the average ordinary person and your day-to-day life. So happy to be here.
Hey, sounds very good. I guess a simple question to start the panel is, regardless of whether or not you think that the protesters violated the FACE Act or not, Don Lemon himself, do you think he should have been charged by the government? Why or why not? Go ahead.
No, because I don't think that there's probable cause to charge him. Because I don't think that there's probable cause to charge him, I don't think that he should have been charged.
Wait, okay, wait, hold on. But what did Pisco mean when he said that, like, oh, he is probably trespassing? Wait, I'm so confused.
I think he should have been charged with
should he or should he not be charged with trespassing?
Trespass at the very least?
Yes.
Okay.
So I don't think that the federal government has or should have a say.
What? Did Don Lemon leave? Guys, hold on. Wait, but Don Lemon was arrested for conspiracy to deprive rights and interfering with religious freedom. That's what he was arrested for. They're not arresting him for trespassing. They're arresting him because they thought that he was violating the First Amendment. Like, even if you agree with trespassing, they're not arresting him for trespassing. But he did leave, right? Why does nobody say anything? Like, of course he's gonna, otherwise it would have already said, okay, nah, he must have left. He must have left. He must have left after he's being told to leave. He must have left. Okay, there's absolutely no fucking way. There's absolutely no fucking way that he decides to stay, all right, after being told to leave. That's stupid. Then why would he even be charged with trespassing? There's no point in charging him with trespassing even. Like, what's the point of a charge like that then, even? Like, what was the point? There's no point. I'm restarting my camera, sorry. There's no point, right? Because he doesn't violate trespassing.
On normal trespass. But I do think he should have been charged with trespass. I think that this was bad enough in terms of the disruption.
Okay, I don't know why Pisco is conceding this. That's stupid. That sounds stupid. That sounds stupid. That sounds stupid. That sounds just retarded.
There, and it's part of the example of civil disobedience in the past. It has been part.
No, wait, what? Don Lemon was not committing civil disobedience. Don Lemon was there to report. He's biased, but he's reporting. What's civil disobedience? Why? Okay, I'm so fucking confused. Which side is Pisco on?
Of that movement to accept those kinds of punishments, and they're legal to do. They're applying, and that's part of the risk you take is those kinds of trespass activities. And so I don't think it would be inconsistent for me to say that I'm against the FACE Act, and I don't think you're alleging this, just to be clear, but that I do think that in this particular case should be charged with trespass. I do think he should be. And I think I would prefer it if they had been outside the church the entire time.
I want to attorney. Do you guys
Dude, you know what Pisco sounds like? He sounds like a house owner. NIMBYs. House owners.
talk about probable cause for the FACE Act, right? Because that's what we're talking about
right
now. What
so
would you consider your probable cause? Go ahead.
Yeah, so to lay the groundwork for all of our, for Mr. Irrelevant and then any viewers watching, the legal standard for probable cause is totality of the circumstances. So you're looking at the entire situation, the entire big picture. You're taking the pros, taking the cons, weighing them all against each other, and then deciding on the totality of the circumstances. Basically, is there enough meat there for a case to move forward? That's why these are tested through grand juries, these are tested through magistrates. It is a much lower bar than conviction. Everyone here agrees with that. And so I think, yeah. And so I think, though, to do the analysis properly, well, first, I guess my question would be for Pisco. Do you think there's any evidence at all that indicates Don Lemon might have shared in the intent or shared the goal of the other protesters?
It depends what you mean by any evidence in that context. So if you mean is something that someone could argue is shows his intent one way or the other, I think the answer is yes. But I think that that evidence is equivocal, by which I mean it's open to another, I think, more plausible interpretation, which is not that he shared the specific goal of creating the object of the conspiracy, but the journalistic goal. And I think that that's true of him in that moment. And also, just to be clear, I want to be nuanced on it, because you're right. The probable cause is the standard for this arrest and even indeed the indictment. And that is what I said this year. I'm going to stick to it. I do think that there's no probable cause. But even if it were the case that I thought there was probable cause, the DOJ guidelines tell you that you shouldn't charge, or at least their practice is not to charge unless they think they can get beyond a reasonable doubt. And so even if you convince me in this moment that there's probable cause, I would fall back on, but I don't think that they could get enough evidence and none has been presented to get to beyond a reasonable doubt. And even if they do technically have the ability to charge them under probable cause, I don't think they should unless they can get that higher standard.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with you as well as far as, I mean, everything you just said, I'm largely in agreement with there. And I think there certainly was a misstep. I don't think the DOJ had to issue an arrest warrant. I think they could issue a summons and proceed from that point. So certainly there's the undeniable political angle to it.
Okay, I don't know what Pisco's plan is here.
But I think the main question that I have, well, I kind of already asked it, of like what evidence there is, because we can go through some of the examples.
I can give you like the best evidence of the case that they have. I can try to steelman it if you'd like.
The interview.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what you mean the interview?
So the question is, does the interview that Don Lemon did with the pastor, does that meet like with interfering? Right? Are you interfering with the expression of? Are you interfering with the process of the church, the expression of faith? Are you meeting that prong of the FACE Act when it comes to what Don Lemon did to the pastor? And when I watch that video, when I see the pastor is basically surrounded, right? He's got one guy on his left, he's got another guy, and then Don Lemon is right up on him, asking a bunch of questions, and he seems to be trying to make some space for himself, like using his hand to try to make some space for himself, which, by kind of easing Don off of him. And then Don is like, don't, just, I'm trying to keep this respectful, don't push me. And when I'm looking at the totality of circumstances there, it certainly seems to me that a case can be made that Don is interfering at that point, that he is.
What?
It's not just that he's like hiding in some corner of the church that he walked in and he's videotaping it, but that he is participating in the interference that's occurring to the functions of that church.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
Okay. So
what I'm curious about is how Lactoid eats Putin's cum, okay? Does he eat it with ice cream or does he eat it well done, medium rare, okay? Like, how does it work? Tell me, how does this happen?
Is the argument then that, let's say that Don Lemon was full-blown MAGA. We knew that he was not there to in any way to support anything that was going there. And he was just asking questions to the pastor. Would that change how you feel about it at all? Because what you described has nothing to do with. Okay, so then what?
Actually, I don't think so. I think it does.
It definitely should.
Yeah, it should, right? It sounded like intent, right?
Yeah, I think there's a dual intent question. But so my interpretation of this, and I think this is the case in the Eighth Circuit, is that you don't have to like the underlying like grand purpose. I don't think is dispositive here. I think if you are intentionally doing the act that is causing the disruption, if you're intentionally doing the act, knowing that it's causing some kind of impediment, and you're doing it, that this would be sufficient. And that's again,
I'm unsure about that as well. To give Lactoid some credit, like there's two parts of the intent, which is like, do you intend to do the physical act, and do you intend to like actually obstruct / use force / threats? And then there's at some level of generality, this improper motive. There is a motive analysis that is part of the FACE Act. And just for the people who are watching enough on long, the FACE Act requires one of three conducts: physical, force, threat, or physical obstruction. So those are the three kinds of things you can do with a motive, and the motive splits off in this way, in this kind of dual intent. And so the question is, at what level of generality does the ultimate motive have to be? Like, if for example, this example I always use, a bunch of people did the same exact thing, but they're like, this guy, he is abusing the altar boys. He's abusing the altar boys. In that context, they don't really want to stop the exercise of the First Amendment, but they know it's going to be like a necessary consequence of the actions they do. And the question is, what level of generality do we see the motive? They care that in the example I provided more about the like corruption that they're outing and that this pastor is wrong. That's why they're doing the disruption. is that the motive that we're looking at? I'm not sure if the Eighth Circuit has resolved that.
But I think to answer your question, Arlen, I think the intent actually does matter as far as, and this is probably one of my biggest arguments here, is when I look at the totality of circumstances, it appears to me that Don Lemon, yes, he's saying at different times, oh, I'm just a journalist, I'm just chronicling, but it appears to me, based on his comments both during the whole ordeal and his comments after the fact, that he actually did share in the intent, share in the goal ideologically with the group that was going in. And I think that matters as far as if you're going into further a conspiracy and you're participating in that, and you're going to, oh, I'm just interviewing, I'm just asking questions. But if your questions are very clearly like angled one direction towards the pastor, like it's a very hostile interview to the pastor, very friendly interview to the organizer. So to answer the question directly, if this was Alex Jones that went in there and was interviewing the pastor talking about, isn't this just so terrible how these people are coming in here and disrupting stuff? I think that is a material fact as far as you can easily say, okay, he's not sharing in the intent of the conspirators, and therefore you can't find him guilty underneath a conspiracy statute.
Just
I think that's
just for my edification, my audience's edification, you keep mentioning statements or acts that he made. Can you give us the strongest examples you have of Don Lemon's either before or during that you think show his intent to be disruptive?
Before is the best. I don't know what you guys are focusing on during and after. Before, the best argument they have is the statements that he made before, where it's like, don't reveal where you're going. He said that to his producer, I think, and also to one of the protesters. But I can tell you why I don't think it meets probable cause. But once he's there, I think the statements are, again, equivocal, and there's another purpose behind them, which is journalistic. And he asks questions. He points out that people are scared. So I don't think that it's so one-sided as you say. I do think he's sympathetic, and I think that is a point against him. But again, I just don't think it rises to the level of probable cause. And but yeah, no, go ahead for the Gen Z attorney for the pre-statements if you want to talk about them.
I
think that's the best case.
You did a good job summarizing some of them. I would add on in there when he's using phrases like we are about to go do something, or we are gathering here to go do something, and then when he talks to the organizer and basically says to her directly, like, I appreciate what you're doing, or like, you're doing a good thing. He said something to that effect when he was interviewing her beforehand. And then on top of that, the fact that he is taking steps to avoid. And here's the thing, I'm actually curious to hear my fellow lawyers' takes on how significant it is, the fact that he's live streaming. He's not just recording for posterity to then make something after the fact and put it out there, like we see with some of these ride-alongs with like a terrorist group or something, or a gang. But like the fact he's actually live streaming such that by doing that, if he does it in the wrong way, if he shows the wrong thing, information can get out and can actually jeopardize the operation. I think.
That I think is helpful evidence for Don. Right? The fact that it's a live stream. Now you can make the argument, I don't buy it, with like, well, that's part of their conspiracy is they didn't just want to do this, they wanted to document it. And so that's part of their whole agreement. And the live stream of it, but the live stream of it, right? That makes it so it's more likely that police will be alerted, that people will know what's going on. You can't plan everything, you can't curate everything. And so I think the live streaming aspect of it, I think will lead one to think less. I think we'll read less into the whole notion that he's hiding the location, right?
I would agree with you if the live streaming was being done in a way that was disclosing some of these details ahead of time. It creates that risk. But the fact that he was taking steps, and maybe this will come into discussion if we talk about the overt acts later, but the fact he's taking active steps to, hey, let's move away from the crowd, let's turn the camera away, let's take the microphone away beforehand, and with making explicit statements like, oh, we're not saying what's going on, we don't want to disclose, we need an element of surprise, stuff like that. The fact that all that is being live streamed, I think that cuts against him as far as he's taking steps to make sure this operation does go off without jeopardy. Like,
I think that. So I think that is consistent. The reason why I say it's equivocal, I think that's like really consistent with a journalist who makes a commitment to like a subject, just like you might have with respect to who's this BBC guy who goes to the Westboro Baptist Church, he goes to meet with settlers or whatever. Yeah, Louis Theroux. Where you can, part of these like embedded journalists, people who do these things, they make agreements with the people that they're documenting. Listen, I'm not going to show this, I'll show this. It's part of the journalistic, it's a give and take kind of thing. And so it doesn't surprise me, right, that Don Lemon would make those kinds of things if he, like, for example, agreed, hey, I'm going to cover this, I want to cover you. And they were like, well, I don't want you to reveal what we're doing before we do it. And he says, don't worry, we won't do that. And he's making good on his commitment. The point is, I think the government has the burden to show that plausible or purpose or motive in there is not there, because I see that situation and the way he says we in that context, and that to me that's all consistent with the journalistic purpose. I don't think it's as true if, for example, you had an agreement with that you can show which said this would be a good idea. Let's say that Don is making suggestions about which place to target, or Don is making other kinds of statements to say this was like really, really good that it happened. Then I would, even after the fact, I would say that's better evidence. And I do think he's sympathetic, but I don't think that evidence gets you to probable cause that he wanted the outcome and that there was a criminal agreement, and that's what I think is missing.
Well, a couple things if I could. I've not been able to find verification on this, so again, take this with a huge grain of salt. But somebody made the argument to me that Don Lemon did at one point either like give one of the protesters a ride or help one of the protesters who like got stuck or something along those lines to the place. And my question is, if that did happen, let's say, would that be sufficient for you at that point? That
so if you're helping people get to a given place, I think that's stronger evidence. That's stronger evidence. Okay. I will not say that is as subject to. But the thing is, unfortunately. You still have that, like, the lack of the foundation for an agreement. I think it's stronger evidence that you're bringing more people there, presumably to have an effect, maybe, I guess, if it's like a very important person or something. But it's also possible that he had a car and that it was always arranged and he might bring some protest. I don't know. In other words, I think the circumstances of how the ride was provided, what things were stated, that's going to be relevant. But I didn't see that in the indictment, and so I'm not assessing it for purposes of probable cause. Yeah.
I agree. I think it'd be evidence. I think it'd be pretty strong evidence personally. But like I said, it's unverified. I haven't been able to find a verification of that. So it was just more of a, I guess, hypothetical question, really.
Yeah.
And this is maybe why I have a little bit of disagreement, maybe with the rest of the panel here. This is what I think is what I think is missing here with the KKK Act, and why I said that one I think is kind of particularly weaker, is because I am a big fan of journalists like Louis Theroux. Michael K. Williams did a lot of this stuff where he would, this gonzo journalism is a thing where you embed yourself into the lifestyle of the people that you're documenting. And some of the best journalism, I think, happens by people doing this. And oftentimes, like when I'm, Louis Theroux, he's not furthering, whatever bad thing is happening, or Michael Williams, he's not furthering anything bad that's happening. They really are, documenting it. However, I do think that for me, that could be an argument alleged to maybe why there was a lack of the conspiracy requirement for the KKK Act. I think a jury could find that based on what Gen Z attorney was talking about with, the statements that were being made and everything leading up to the event. But for me, I think the reason why the FACE Act is stronger is I'm just not convinced that under Eighth Circuit precedent that a dual intent is required. That the ultimate purpose here needs to be that he had the purpose to disrupt the.
This isn't as much of a shit show as I was expecting, but I am listening to every word. Like, I am paying attention to every word, though, that is being said. Yeah. They are actually having more of a substantive discussion, I think. Maybe? As for... yeah. I don't know how the law works in particular with that, but I think that opens up so many possibilities and so many questions in regards to journalistic rights. Because you're accusing a journalist of breaking the First Amendment, of violating something when it comes to the First Amendment. But journalism in of itself is First Amendment protected, right? Journalism in of itself is First Amendment protected. But forget about the legal part. I think just speaking morally wise, I think that if you say that Don Lemon is guilty of if he is guilty of knowing that something was going to happen and then inadvertently, whether without his intention or not, participating in it, I think that any kind of journalist who decides to cover news like that is going to find themselves in trouble in terms of precedents, right? Because if you arrest Don Lemon, well, then you have to arrest a bunch of other people as well. Because there's a lot of other people who infiltrate cults, they do things like infiltrating cults. It's not like they reveal themselves to be journalists, right? These people, they're not, because otherwise they would also be in trouble. But of course, I hate the fact that we even have to pretend that this is actually a disruption of church issue, because I don't think it is. I think the real answer to this entire thing is that the reason why Don Lemon was arrested isn't because of this specific issue. He was arrested because Trump doesn't like him, okay? And I think that that is the argument that Pisco needs to make. The argument that Pisco needs to make isn't a legal argument, but it's just that the purpose behind the arrest itself has nothing to do with the First Amendment, except for the fact that Trump wants to violate journalists' First Amendment rights by doing journalism, right? Donald Trump does not want the First Amendment to work because all of these journalists are talking smack about him, and he doesn't like that because it hurts his feelings, right? I don't know. I think that is the argument that you need to be making, not, did Don Lemon actually apply here in terms of this law, right? Yeah. They want footage of them owning the libs? Yes. Yeah. But Don Lemon has always been a more liberal journalist, and everybody already knows this. Yeah.
The religious ceremonies for disrupting the religious ceremony's sake.
Then that would get to irrelevant, where I'm sure you would have a lot to say about that, and concerns. If that's the case, if one, you've mentioned the issues on physical obstruction, and to just step back a little bit, guys, so you're aware, the conspiracy against rights, that's what Lactoid is referring to as the KKK Act. There's circuit precedent in some places where you can use as part of the conspiracy the right that's being deprived is a violation of the FACE Act. So they're all kind of pointing towards the FACE Act. That's kind of the theory here. But what Lactoid is saying is you wouldn't need to actually show that Don Lemon wanted to oppress their rights, the enjoyment of their rights. You would just need to show that he physically obstructed. But then I'm like, hang on a second. Then any single person who's in the middle of any parishioner who's there, anybody who is there who's arguably a victim of what's going on, who's in some way impeding access or just sticking too long in a given place, they can't be liable, man. I mean, that can't be the reading of the FACE Act. And that would get to, I think, a relevance point. That would be so fucking broad.
Yeah, that's kind of why I brought up the MAGA person. What if, is it just literally you cannot document this if there is at all any possibility that you could be physically
obstructing? Not even that. Not even.
Let me give an example, okay? So if you're a child Okay, and I'm pretty sure I brought up this example before. If you were a child and then you threw a tantrum in the middle of church service, right? Does that mean you're guilty? Let's just say the pastor wants you to leave, and the child does not want to leave, right? Because they're having a tantrum. Does that mean, like, technically that child is violating their First Amendment? But again, this is not what's this is not what's actually being said, right? Because the claim is that he is violating the First Amendment, but the truth is that Trump just wants to start arresting journalists, and he wants to start enacting a fascist regime, right? I mean, this is like one of the most important steps to do so, no? Arresting journalists as a precedence and allowing it to stay a precedence is like that, yeah.
Just not even just a documenting thing. It would mean if you're physically obstructing at all, which has been found sometimes in very limited cases where you're just like offering a pamphlet in front of someone in front of the door and shit, it can be like quite trivial, this physical obstruction. That would like arguably apply to some of the victims themselves, because the victims, to the extent that they're like occupying the main. Why? Well,
I just don't think that's sufficient enough for like interference. I think that there's obviously some kind of bar for interference. You can't just be like, well, you're here taking up my oxygen, therefore you're interfering. There needs to be some kind of like, the conduct needs to rise to a certain level, in my opinion.
Right, but it can be something as simple as, and it's been found in certain cases, as like a protester at an abortion clinic gets in front of someone who's seeking abortion and like presents a pamphlet to them.
And that's why they have to like hand it up to the side, yeah.
Yeah, so in those contexts, I'm like, that is way too broad. That can't be true. And if that's true, then we have to be against this we should be against it as a policy matter, if that's the application. Because how do you distinguish in that case Don Lemon, without reference to intent, Don Lemon from like random parishioner who maybe is lingering near the entrance?
Well, I think real quick. Okay, go ahead.
Just to respond to the question. I think that where the too far happened was when the people who were handing out pamphlets, like that was deemed to be interference because they happened to be standing there for 2 seconds in front of the person, as opposed to like handing out to the side. I do think there needs to be like a certain threshold to that. And I agree with you that what the threshold is for interference is a tough question. But based on, so I was able to find an 8th Circuit case that I think is relevant. I mean, it's the Hart matter, the Hart case. That was an appellate decision by the for the 8th Circuit, in which somebody parked a Ryder truck out in front of a abortion clinic, and this was deemed to be a threat because a Ryder truck had been used in a car bombing at another abortion facility previously. And so this was deemed just simply by the fact that the brand name of the truck was a Ryder truck, and he pulled out and over to the abortion clinic and parked there. That this was that he knew this was a threat. Like obviously you still have to show intent. Like it can't be like, oh, I just own a Ryder truck and I was just parking here for some food. But that like he parked there knowing it was a threat, and he made the threat anyway. In that case, there really wasn't any kind of discussion as to like that his ultimate purpose needed to be some kind of like broader pro-life agenda or disrupting the ability to get abortions. It was that he knew it was a threat, he should have known it was a threat, and he did it anyway. And there was some evidence that he did know it was a threat. Now, if we read it kind of, I think with the way that you guys are saying, or I guess maybe the whole panel at this point is saying that it should be read, which again is not, my understanding, has not been found in the 8th Circuit. This would mean, I think, some equally kind of crazy hypotheticals you could run through. Like, so does this mean that if he parked his Ryder truck with a specific intention of threatening one of the doctors, knowing that it would disrupt abortion services, does that no longer count because he just had a personal animus against this doctor as opposed to some kind of broader abortion?
I want to be clear about how I would read it. Yes, that's how I would read it, because the spirit of this law was not meant to like protect abortion centers from attacks of like idiot ex-boyfriends or something. It was specifically to deal with threats of people who, on the basis of trying to interfere with their rights to get these reproductive services, or in the case of religious, like that's what I mean. Like it wasn't meant to apply to any obstruction in these different places or any kind of physical thing. It was those that are motivated by a specific intent to get at your rights, right? To infringe on your rights specifically, to prevent you from exercising these reproductive health services on those bases. But like, if it's not that, then it would seem to suggest that like, okay, if I'm preventing,
I think it's absolutely silly. Fuck it. I think I should make a fucking stronger statement on this. I think it's absolutely ridiculous to think that Don Lemon was there to interrupt church services. That is absolutely absurd. I think that is demonstrably not true, because he is a journalist and he is there to collect information, and he is there to do a journalist's job. I think that Don Lemon doesn't even, I don't think he has a history. I don't think he has a history of like actually trying to disrupt any kind of service or any kind of thing. Like he is just there to cover whatever is going on in a way that is biased, sure, because again, he's liberal, right? But that's not the same as being there on purpose to disrupt the service. He's not the same one who is trying to advocate by holding a sign outside. He's not holding a sign inside. He's not, And I think that anybody who spreads the rhetoric of Don Lemon actually being a conspirator is sucking on Trump's dick. I think that they're sucking on Trump's dick, and I think that the Trump cum syndrome has gotten around to them, okay? The Trump cum derangement syndrome, all right? Because I think, okay, no, I think only strong statements should apply here. Nah, fuck it. Because I already know that this entire Don Lemon talking point is a bunch of horse shit. And the reason why it's a bunch of horse shit is because we have to sit here and pretend and like entertain their what ifs and their and to assume that they are good faith. But that's silly, right? Because clearly none of these right-wingers care about being good faith in any way. The fact that we're even sitting here and questioning whether or not Don Lemon has actually violated or like some shit is ridiculous to me. Okay, it's very obvious to me that Jen no GF here and lactose intolerant here, like it's very clear they just want to suck Trump's dick. And they're pretending as if there is some kind of legitimate, lawful reason to arrest Don Lemon when clearly he was just there to do a job. I think that's ridiculous. Him knowing about the protest beforehand, that can be explained away via other reasons, right? Via, okay, I'm gonna have to go there, I'm gonna have to cover it and whatever, right? Not for actual protest reasons. Like the fact that you think that is some kind of conspiracy is just ludicrous to me, okay? I think that ultimately, if you support Don Lemon being charged with anything, I think you're anti-First Amendment and you're anti-free speech, okay? Yeah, fuck it. I do understand what these people are talking about, right? Like sometimes you do want to play devil's advocate when it comes to situations like this, right? Because you do want to question, okay, what should we allow in society? But the fact that we should even care about this when the president has never given a fuck about the First Amendment in any way, right? Like this is the same motherfucker who wrote up executive orders to go after law firms that have targeted him for the federal charges that was filed against him. This is the same motherfucker who said that, yeah, if you're a university that is receiving federal grants, then therefore in your research papers, you shouldn't involve pronouns. Like, are you actually fucking kidding me? So you're telling me that when Trump is trying to go after Harvard in terms of free speech, that suddenly he has a mind for caring about free speech by arresting Don Lemon under violating the First Amendment when Don Lemon was there trying to do his First Amendment duty? Yeah, I think I'm good. Actually, I don't think I should entertain this. I think that if I were to talk about this with like somebody in private, like a left-leaning person in private, I'm much more willing to entertain this conversation because at least I know that they're acting in good faith. I know that they're doing the devil's advocate in good faith. But the fact that I have to entertain fucking generational cum sting over here, okay, and fucking lactose intolerant is beyond me. That's ridiculous. Okay, and I hate that Pisco is running along with it. I think that is the worst part of all. Okay, the fucking all there is to it.
Betting, speaking.
Hey, thank you for the 30 Australia, Misaki.
Betting, speaking.
Yeah, lactose intolerant, dude. The fact that Pistard over here, all right, is like running along with the narrative goes to show like the fucking Red, Brown, and Lions, okay, with you know, fucking Timu leftist over here, along with like the fucking fascist brown shirts over here, all right, like creating an alliance. Dude, I think it's so retarded to like entertain these guys like in terms of that. Like, let's just be honest here. Pisco doesn't like Don Lemon because Don Lemon is a liberal, okay, and Pisco is like, this guy's too liberal for me, and so therefore he's like, yeah, you know what, it's fair because I'm autistic and whatever. Like, dude, are you fucking kidding me, dude? Like, I don't think Pisco should ever entertain these like little Weasley little spineless fucks, okay? Also, I know Pisco is too smart for this. He knows that these people are just like ultimately the most spineless losers like to ever exist on the face of the earth, okay? It wouldn't even surprise me if they had like fucking jelly for spines, okay? By how much fucking mental gymnastics that they had to go, okay? These actual fucking smooth brained, okay? I don't even know why Irrelevant is here looking like a fucking green screen, okay, wearing a green screen for a shirt on a panel full of lawyers, and meanwhile, Al Relevant himself is not even a lawyer, and he's not putting in anything here. It's like, just give me a break. There better be fighting later on in this fucking debate panel, or I'm gonna chicken make a lose and never cover this panel, okay? Fuck me, dude. Because I hate the fact that there's no, it isn't that I always desire drama and fighting, it's just that this is a place where I think drama and fighting is warranted. And I think that people are not showing their true colors and wearing masks, okay, when they should be going full mask off, right? What is even the point of playing a character to combat other people who are also playing a character? I fucking hate these motherfuckers who just play a character and they pretend to be somebody who is actually interested in a philosophical discussion about the First Amendment. I know exactly what they're talking about and I don't give a fuck, okay? Because I know that they don't actually care about the First Amendment. But okay, cool. I'm good, okay? Like, fuck these retards. Hold on.
More clout by just recording people and then editing it. Opinion about Alex Jones, not fair reporting, but he makes more money doing that. So my first assumption would be the exact opposite. He's trying to just get clips. He's trying to farm this, and that's what I would assume Don Lemon would be doing. Is his first priority would be get clips, go viral.
Here's the question. Here's the key question. Okay, here's the key question. All right, and you guys answer. If Don Lemon were vetted with this group, and this group.
I'm so done, dude. I'm so done with these like conservatives who are going around pretending that they give a fuck about what they're talking about, even though they will literally contradict themselves the next day. Okay, like Trump's administration is literally 1984. Literally, we've always been at war with Eurasia, and then the next day, if the administration says, "Oh, we have always been at war with Oceania," like they would be like, "Yeah, we have always been at war with Oceania." Are you actually fucking kidding me? Like, you guys are so spineless, and the administration would be like, we're doing this based off of caring about the First Amendment, and then meanwhile the next day, like, they'll implement some other ridiculous fucking shit that is clearly violating the First Amendment. Dude, give me a fucking break, dude. I hate these motherfuckers who pretend to care about the First Amendment. Like, these are the most insufferable motherfuckers ever. I don't even know if the First Amendment is that much of a gift or a boon to the fucking country, considering how, like, it has literally given rise to the KKK and neo-Nazis and any other extremist ideology and misinformation going on Twitter. It's like, fuck me, dude. Like, I fucking hate everything right now. Fuck. This is so fucking retarded.
Went to not a church, but went into the person's house to occupy his house a little. Do you think that Don Lemon, in that context, would still have the motivation to interfere with religious rights? In other words, he would have gone wherever these guys were going to go, right? He was following this group because they were protesting. He wasn't following this group because they were going to go to a particular place that we know of based on evidence. He wasn't following them because he knew for certain. Maybe he knew where they were going, in the course of it. But that's not why he was following them. He was following them because they were protesters about to do a thing. And if they had done this at a shopping mall, if the guy had worked at a Foot Locker and they were doing the same kind of stuff, Don Lemon would have been there.
I gotta be real with you guys. I thought the case was going to be stronger than this against Don Lemon. Can you guys give me like the strongest evidence you have?
So yeah, to answer Pico's question real quick, I don't think that applies because it's not Face Act, because we're no longer talking about House of
the Church. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I'm just trying to say, like, his purpose. He wasn't following these people because they were planning to do the religious thing. Now, the people, I think, were trying to disrupt and arguably, the religious freedom in that sense. So I think it's a much stronger case against them, against the protesters themselves. But I don't think that was driving Don Lemon's motivation. I think the protesters were trying to make a statement that was actually filled with religious significance to it, and they knew where they were going, and they picked it selected.
You know what one of the protesters said? They said that there is absolutely no fucking way the Lord would ever endorse anybody who worked for ICE, okay? And honestly, that motherfucker is probably speaking some truth, okay? Let's just be real here. The protesters were 100% in the right, and if they were trying to disobey the First Amendment or trying to violate like some like fucking law or some shit like that, in my opinion, the protesters are doing something based, okay? You should actually be violating laws. You should actually be breaking rules. Why? Because you believe that there's something wrong here. You believe that something needs to be changed, okay? So you get your ass in there and you start breaking some shit. Because if you do break some shit and you get arrested, you're making a statement. You're willing to fight for your ideals, okay? Motherfuckers in the past, the fucking suffragettes, trying to get the right to vote, the fucking woman trying to get the right to vote, they literally starved themselves to death, okay? In order to become martyrs for the movement, just to get themselves a representation in the voice in choosing their government, okay? Black people, all right? Martin Luther King literally like fucking jailed little black children because he believed that it would look bad for white cops to be jailing black children, and he was right. That was obviously like a bad thing to do for him to strategize on that front. But like, of course, the thing we should be talking about is it isn't whether or not Don Lemon is somebody who is worthy of being arrested of conspiracy. It's that if Don Lemon was in fact protesting, is what he is protesting right, or was what he was protesting wrong? Was it an overreaction, or is it not an overreaction? Because even assuming the worst of the case, even assuming that Don Lemon was completely a co-conspirator and he completely believed in the cause and he completely did this all, right? Wouldn't we support it anyway, even if it was against the law? Isn't the law like not absolute? If the law is wrong, shouldn't we change it? If we have to break some laws in order to make a statement, shouldn't we break some laws to make a statement? Aren't these all things that we care about? Doesn't civil disobedience like fucking matter? Wasn't he just documenting and reporting? Yes, absolutely. But even if I granted this ridiculous assumption that Don Lemon was actually disrupting church services and breaking laws and doing whatever, in my opinion, why shouldn't he? Fuck it, right? People got fucking murdered on the streets. People got murked while in their car and they're just backing up to go. Like, what are we talking about here anymore? Are we actually pretending that this is a real fucking conversation right now? Are we actually pretending as if like they're having some kind of honest intellectual engagement? Or do we actually want to fight as men? Okay, do we actually want to fight on the fucking battlefield? All right, it was still trespassing. It was still trespassing. Who cares? Okay, does the law even matter when the president like fucking did Trump coin and made the biggest fucking crypto scam of all time? Really? Who cares about the law at this point, right? Laws are meant for breaking. If the president is breaking laws, then maybe the liberals should start breaking some laws as well. Like, fuck it. I don't care. It's just like, for anybody to even care about the legal system or laws at this point is ridiculous. The only time I care about laws is when it stops Trump from doing what he's doing. Okay? Then I can pretend I care about laws. Okay?
Picked it purposefully. I don't think that's true of Don Lemon.
I think, yeah, real quick. I think, unfortunately, I think he's got too many statements and comments indicating he does know where they're going. Of like saying like,
I know he knows where they're going. Yes.
Okay.
I think he knows where they're going, but like, if they were going to some other place, it's not like he would. For Don, it really mattered that it was
Grant 101. Thank you so much for the one gifted on Kick. I appreciate that.
The church or something else, where the protesters. It really did matter that it was a church, right? What Don was documenting was the nature of a protest that was about to happen.
Bro, you realize, like, I would unironically sacrifice. You realize that, like, because it's so funny that people say this. Oh my god, it's so funny that people go like, it's so funny people go like, well, I mean, is it worth it to sacrifice the lives of Americans to stop Trump? Yes, motherfucker. Like, what do you want me to say? Yes, it is. It is actually. All right. What do you think the government shutdown was? What do you think the government shutdown was? Starving 44 million Americans, some of which like will probably die. What do you think that was? What do you think politics is? Isn't politics the art and strategizing of life and death? We pretend we have been defeated by victory, okay? We have literally been defeated by victory, all right? Back then, politics was all about and murdering an entire village, okay? Now we have the privilege of having politics be so much more civil and so much more polite. But now that fabrication and these rules are falling away once again, okay? These things, all right, as a nice polite society is an illusion. This is an illusion. With every single vote that goes towards something, people die. With every policy that goes towards something, people die. For every dollar that is invested in the military industrial complex, people die. All right? Does it even matter? And no matter what choice you make, people will die. People will suffer. People will starve. Okay? It will always be a utilitarian choice. You will always try to maximize people living over people dying. More people living versus people dying. Okay? Oh my God. For the love of God. I hope to God, okay? I'm just going to tell you guys this right now. It is illegal. It is illegal to wish for death of another person. Sorry. It is legal, okay? That's what the First Amendment is for. But it is illegal to kill someone. It is illegal to do some crazy shit, okay? Fuck. I'm fucking...
And if they had at the last minute like changed it or whatever, his purpose would still be consistent. Now I think the protesters themselves, they picked this place purposefully, and they picked it because they knew it would make a big stink, and probably because they wanted to interfere with their exercise of religious freedoms. Now, is it because of their exercise of religious freedoms? I think there's a pretty good argument for that, right? They're making these kind of religious appeals. You know, he's a devil. He's like, why are you worshiping here, right? So things like that, right? That I don't really hear Don say as much, and certainly that there's evidence prior that he wanted that outcome to occur. That's kind of what I'm saying.
I see. Yeah, and the thing about that is there's enough clips of him still of actually making actual Christian religious references as well, because almost everyone he interviews talks about like, man, we're here to love Jesus, we're to worship Jesus, and he'll respond back, I'm a Christian too, and I think what's going on is just completely horrible and terrible and unchristian. And so, and I think too, I was watching today, the Warren Smith Secret Scholars guy, he had a guy on his show who says he had a phone call with Don Lemon before all of this happened, where he was told basically ahead of time where they're going to go, what they were going to do. And so
I don't doubt that. Yeah, I think
specifically that it was a church. Whether or not Don Lemon was on board specifically because it was a church, I don't know that we'll ever know the answer to that. I can see kind of the point you're making.
Bro, he was arrested because Don and Stephen Miller was so mad that his wife got stolen by Elon Musk, okay? Stephen Miller was mad that his wife got stolen by Elon Musk, and let's be honest, that is exactly why he probably like some motherfucker, Pam Bondi, it doesn't matter, okay? Some motherfucker was cucked the fuck out, and that's why they fucking ordered for the arresting of Don Lemon, okay? Because they were like, oh my god, if I can't have my wife, I don't want anyone to have anything, okay? Let's be real here, okay? These motherfuckers are so salty, okay? Fuck these motherfuckers, okay? Oh, I fucking hate these guys. Oh my god, I fucking hate these guys. These guys fucking suck. Oh my god. Dude. All of these guys fucking suck. I hate the fact that we're still pretending that we live in a polite society. Dude, like, do we live in a society where two motherfuckers were getting murked? Like, do we live in a... Like, why are you pretending that things are normal? Why are you pretending that nothing is happening right now? Have you lost your fucking mind? Have you lost your fucking marbles?
I could see him saying, oh, we're going to a church. Oh, I'm a Christian. I can make some statements and comments to the parishioners about my own Christian faith and whatnot. But
here's the example.
Could you say that same thing about the other protesters?
Go ahead, Lactoid. I'm going to let you finish, but then I've been given other timestamps that show stronger evidence, so we're going to go through.
Sure. Well, I guess to push back, wouldn't like, because in my mind, my understanding is the protesters chose this place not necessarily because of their hatred of the Christian faith or because they had like a problem with the purpose of the church itself, this specific church itself even. They had a problem with the fact that one of the pastor was apparently affiliated with ICE. So whether this pastor was at a church or whether he...
Yeah, the pastor was a treasonous traitor to the United States, and the protesters want to perform a citizen's arrest, okay? Fucking lactoid intolerant, all right? Fucking lactose intolerant of other fucking races and genders and every single other person except for white men, okay? Fucking lactose, invoice payment from the Kremlin, okay?
Was a clerk at a supermarket, it would seem as though they'd be doing the same thing either way. And so my question is, why do you think
might
the
extend to them
protesters are stronger?
Yeah. So first of all, that argument might extend to them in their favor, because I think that I would interpret it the stronger way, which is to say that you need the specific because motivation. But that said, the reason I think it's stronger is whatever level of tailoring there is to Don Lemon's specific motivation, it's stronger for the protesters who did seem to have some decision of wanting to make an impact, of wanting to cause a stir, and that stir I think is related to the churchiness of where they're going, in a way that I think is easier to isolate and to extract from Don Lemon than it is for the protesters who presumably select this location for that purpose.
It was still trespassing. How the fuck is it trespassing if he leaves after he's being told to leave? And also, he's not being arrested for trespassing. Why do people grant this? What the fuck do people grant this? He was told to leave and he left. That's not trespassing. He was arrested for violating the First Amendment, not for trespassing. Trespassing is the
purpose. Now, ultimately, I don't know how the Eighth Circuit. I want to do some more specific research in the Eighth Circuit specifically, but no, yeah, I think that an example of this might be the following, and I would like to see what your take is on it. Suppose that we knew for a certainty that the reason why who's this guy from Project Veritas? O'Keefe embeds himself into a group or whatever, and he knows that these priests are like these horrible Pizzagate type people, and he goes to expose them and to show the video of like them doing the Pizzagate stuff in front of the parishioners or whatever, these kinds of people. Did you really think that those kinds of acts would constitute a motivation?
The gray area is whether he knew he would be there as a journalist or not, right? What do you mean? He is there as a journalist. 100%. It's not even close. That's so silly. And if the answer is maybe, okay? If the answer is maybe, then he should be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. There is a doubt, so therefore he's innocent, right? He's innocent. He is innocent because it should be he should be innocent until proven guilty. If your answer is maybe, then he's innocent. Then he's innocent in the eyes of the law. All right? Because your answer shouldn't be innocent. It should be an overwhelming amount of proof, right?
To interfere with the people seeking, obtaining, or providing religious services. I'm not so sure. I think that in that case, he would say, that's not why he did it. He's doing it because they're abusing children and he wants to expose them. He wants to get their reaction. And that's when he decided to go do it. In other words, I think the intent component is a bigger deal than you do. And I would put a lot more teeth in it than you do. And I think that's why
I think
these people, these demons, okay? These demons crawling up, scuttling around like a bunch of worms from hell, okay? These millipedes, okay? These actual fucking centipedes, all right? These silverfish, okay? Gen Z, okay? Fucking generational crash out, motherfucker, okay? Generational income and lactoid intolerant. These motherfuckers fucking swarm around like a bunch of little flagrant little snakes. Okay, they're like the tendrils of a jellyfish fucking wiggling around and shaking and crying and fucking pissing themselves, okay? I am so tired of these people. These people are insufferable, okay? These people are some of the most disgusting, most reprehensible, most immoral people I have ever had the displeasure of covering, okay? These motherfuckers, all right, are literally scum of the earth, lower than dirt, all right? Listen to me. I mean, sorry, in Minecraft, the lower, you just fuck these guys, okay?
On to that, then we gotta watch one of these clips.
I think that the way you're looking at this is kind of, as you read, kind of how the Second Circuit is looking more at it, where the second prong here of the dual intent is really important in your analysis. For me, I mean, I would just answer, I guess, that your specific hypothetical. I think that could, depending on what O'Keefe's actions are, that could potentially fit under the FACE Act. It could. And yeah, you can sometimes do illegal actions for noble goals, right? You can hack somebody's computer they have CSAM on it. That doesn't necessarily mean that the hacking is legal. And you uncover something much more illegal, right? But that doesn't just because you discover something more illegal.
But it would mean that any physical obstruction with the intent to intentionally interfere would be a FACE Act violation. And so the intent is just to interfere. You're basically suggesting that it's not a dual intent; it's a single intent to interfere. And that I think that's a reading. And if that were the case, maybe there would be probable cause. I might grant that.
Okay.
I still don't think you should have charged.
Okay. And I think real quick, just a final thought on that, and what I would bring up as well. Even if something can technically fulfill every element of the crime, I don't think we can completely discount prosecutorial discretion just as to look at a situation and be like, all right, yes, maybe look, as a prosecutor, I did this myself. There were cases that fulfilled every element of the crime, but I decided to drop the case for any number of reasons. And so I think I agree, Pisco, you're raising a lot of correct technical observations about how the law can be applied in different cases. I just don't see it getting applied into an actual criminal prosecution in a lot of
No, but maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case. But then let's deal with that, because Aurelio will have something to say with this as well. This is absurd. It's insane because Pam Bondi is directly ordering this prosecution, even though in the Minnesota U.S. Attorney's Office is being hollowed out because they don't think this is a strong case. And it's obviously being motivated because they see all the Twitter fucking shit and they're responding to it in real time. And so this has all the fucking makings of the same political motivation that drive the Comey indictment, the same kind of motivation that drive all these other efforts, which a lot of them, the sandwich thrower, for example, you can make an argument that was forcible or whatever, but it was a stupid case to bring, and it was being incentivized by the worst kind of actors on Twitter. And so just from a discretion perspective, this is a stupid waste of resources to go after Don Lemon. Maybe not the other protesters, but it's bound to be wrapped up in issues of journalism, and it's bound to be motivated by political concerns. And that's why you have Pam Bondi going in to sign off on this specific case against Don Lemon and hollowing out the U.S. Attorney's Office.
I want to get to this in a moment, but just to be clear, after the clip, that's the line I want to go down, is like how much of a threat to journalism, regardless of whether Don Lemon's guilty or innocent or whatever, the way that this is being handled, is this a threat to journalism? Is the Trump administration threatening the First Amendment, etc.? So just keep that in mind. Do you want to respond now? You can, but otherwise I would ask that you keep it.
Oh my god, no. This is gonna guys, I can't do this. This is gonna trigger me too hard. Guys, this is actually gonna trigger me too hard. I don't know. Dude, I can't. This, I can't. I hate it. I hate it whenever these white motherfuckers are acting so casually, okay? Yes, Irrelevant is white. What do you want? Yes, he's white.
In your pocket.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Well, I mean, just before I lose it.
Yeah, before you lose it, go ahead.
Thank you. My understanding is that this was a grand jury approved this. I know that's super low bar, but I just want to point that out. It wasn't just Pam Bondi who made the executive.
She's like the one making the decision, is what I'm saying. Sure. to do the
fair enough.
Case.
And I think what makes me feel better about that aspect of it,
Animal bondage.
In terms of because you're right. There's a level of discretion that we want prosecutors to have, like technically speaking.
In the words of Officer Foster, fucking bitch.
If like the worst example I can think of is like technically speaking, if like a minor was to an adult woman, she would be guilty of statutory. and like technically she could be charged and she'd meet the elements, but that'd be fucking crazy. So like, please, prosecutors, don't do that.
What is it with
Even though technically that is
libertarians
the law.
and age of consent? What is it with libertarians and age of consent?
It's like 18's good. Anyway, so
That's crazy. That's a crazy soundbite.
No,
18 is good. 18 is good. That's a pretty reasonable soundbite, I think. But what I'm just saying is there's obviously scenarios that we want people to exercise discretion in. In this case, though, because like what makes me feel better about it is I think all of us already agree that Don Lemon should have been arrested for trespass at the very least anyway, like a different misdemeanor. So he should have been arrested for a misdemeanor that he's probably not going to get arrested for. So he's getting arrested for like a different misdemeanor.
Yeah, you should be like angry at Minnesota. You should be angry at Minnesota.
I am.
Angry at Keith
We
Ellison.
are.
Like,
trust me, I am.
I'm angry at Keith Ellison for other shit too. But like, also, can we just be honest here? Like this whole shit, they don't actually give a fuck. And I want to get to Wick's thing, but like they pardon all the Jan fucking Sixers. Like it is insane that we live in this environment that we have to pretend that our conservative people like have this principled stance against obstruction and technical violations of the law all the time. And like, so I have had it with like all of the pearl clutching and stuff. Did they commit trespass? Yes. Did they probably commit the Face Act violation? But turning this into like a broader, oh my God, Antifa conspiracy, KKK Act, I think that's a bit absurd.
Okay, let me pull up what we got.
I have a response to that as well, but we're gonna wait. So.
Yeah. I was told to go to this timestamp. 050. We're 7 seconds behind it, but I think that'll be fine. And this was shown very strong evidence, I've been told, of conspiracy. So we'll see.
Oh my God, who cares? Even if it was conspiracy, who cares? Does the law matter? Does anything matter? Oh my God, guys, this is such a fake issue. It's such a fake issue. It's a fake issue, guys. Guys, it's a fake issue. This is not a real issue. No one actually cares about this. This is... I actually hate this. I hate this faux pas, like fucking, as somebody who's a lawyer, I care about the law. Oh my God, please shut the fuck up. Please shut the fuck up. Oh my God. I am so tired. I'm so sick and tired of these fraudsters, okay? These actual fucking disgusting wretches who are putrefying this entire fucking space. What am I to do? What am I to do? What can I do? Nothing. The law, except the billions of laws they break every day in the oral office. Yeah, in the fucking oral office. Okay? Yes, the oral office is the correct name. Okay? It's the fucking oral sex office. Okay? Because everyone there is slurping Trump's cock. Okay? That's the correct name for that place. Okay? Fuck that place. Fuck. Okay, I'm done. I'm good. I'm good. I don't want to cover this panel anymore. I hate this fucking cum slurping of the law. Okay, yeah, go on.
The asylum seeker. Within 5
went to this. I feel like
okay, I don't care. Great, good one. All right, guys, I'm reading out. Good luck. Have fun. See you guys. I love you guys. These people fucking piss me the fuck off. Fuck. Yes or no? Or like fuck.